Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Mic test there. Mic test, mic test. Hi, everyone. Let's all start to get settled in and find an empty chair. So for the people at the back, there are actually empty chairs here on the stage. So you're more comfortable as you sit through the program. Don't be shy in taking the business class seats over here. Uh, We have premium seats in the house. You can choose to sit on the forward cabin. Hello, hello. Ay, ano to? Hi. Jed ayaw. Is it down? Pa-down ba? Hello, hello. Wait, thanks for attending. I know you like the topics. And hello? Hello, hello. Okay, guys. Let's get this show started. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Pia Bernal. I'm Kickstart Strategic Partnerships Manager. And for tonight, I'm your fridge master. So I see a lot of you holding on to beers. So for those who are not yet aware, the fridge that you will be raiding is actually downstairs. So for those attending for the first time, can I see a show of hands? Attending for the first time? Welcome to Raid the Fridge. We've been doing this since August 2012. So you can just imagine how many beers we've served over the years to the tech startup community, where great conversations always happen over beers. I don't know if you guys have started to get food, but certainly after the program, you can all go back to downstairs and get some food. So for tonight, before we get started, just some house rules for everyone. First of all, eh, to allow the speakers to be able to be understood better, uh, is that if you have something important to talk about with a fellow guest, please take it outside or downstairs, but not during the program because it does get distracting when you're listening to others talk on the side and you're not able to focus on the program. Second, is that if you happen to lose or forget an item, feel free to approach any of my colleagues wearing Kickstart shirt to say that you lost or misplaced something, and we'll certainly take a look into that. Or you can email us after the event if you only notice that you left behind something after the event and you've left the building. Third, and this is important, so guest safety is always important to us. If at any point in the evening you felt uncomfortable, just please flag it to us so we can address it and take the necessary steps as needed. So there, so those are my house rules for tonight's Raid the Fridge. Welcome to the 155th edition. Um, and I'm happy to see that you guys were able to make it despite the rainy day that we're having. Okay, as you can see on the board, the agenda tonight. Before we get to the main event, I'm happy to share that we invited someone from our portfolio, Sprout Solutions. Sorry, Sprout Solutions. I'll tell you why later. Sprout Solutions to share some What? Yes, I got it, Selena. Not to them, but to Gino. So we usually have committee announcements for the audience. So if in case any one of you has something relevant to share to the community, we welcome you to do a 5-minute announcement or sharing for as long as it is valuable to the audience members here. So on that note, I'd like to welcome to the front Oliver from Sprout Solutions, who has something exciting and useful to share to the audience. So welcome Gino to Raid the Fridge. Do you need
Oh, the wire. Hello. Hi guys. Yeah, it's really good to be back na. I just to share no, I work downstairs to the yellow room a decade ago under Aya flag. Now I'm with Sprout. So okay, so I'm Gino no, from Sprout, and here to talk to you about uh, Sprout Markup. No, it's actually a side project that I built, then became an internal tool, and we decided to make it public and live. Actually, it's public now, no, just last week. So and it started with one of the most fundamental components of web, no, HTML, no. So I remember like 20 years ago, age reveal. No? I remember 20 years ago, no, my first encounter with HTML during high school laboratory. No, we usually build something like that. Yeah, the the colorful web pages, blinking lights, and uh, yeah, animated ship, no. So and when you try to build this kind of pages, no, you need to build it hand by hand, syntax by syntax. Yeah, doc type HTML, no, right? The fonts, the colors, and it is super tedious, no. Back then, no. But uh, no. But now, no, something fundamentally changes, no, because of AI, and because now AI writes it for you in minutes, na, no, regardless if it's Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, no, and with regards to Sprout, no, when we go all in AI and agentic org like transformation, no, it actually organically grows to us to have multiple use cases of HTML, no, and one of the most notable use case is building like presentations like this. This is actually not Canva or slides, no, or PowerPoint, no. This is actually a single HTML, no. I just build the context from Claude and let it generate as a slide like this, no. And I remember back in college, no, when I lost hours and days, no, just hand building these slides. But just to share, no, I haven't created or edited a single slide since Q1 with Sprout, no. We technically or we abuse these use cases within Sprout, no. The 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 HTML generating of slides, no. And but here's the caveat, no. Here's the problem, no. This beautiful HTML, no. It just been trapped in or scattered across kung sino yung nag-create, no. Whenever whoever created that HTML or trapped in the group chats or chats. And we tried managing our HTMLs. I think we generated around thousands of HTML na within Sprout, no. And we try to manage it within Google Drives. And the problem with Google Drive is it does not render HTML na. No, trivia lang, since 2016. So what we did, we built a home for it. No. So this Sprout markup is, imagine it just like a Google Drive but for HTML. No. It renders it securely. You can present just like what I am doing right now. No. You can present it in calls and share it with your audience. No. Huh? Okay. So so sige, let's demonstrate lang quickly, no. Kasi if you notice, no, this is a local file, no. So let's go to markup. You see this landing page, no. Try for free. Enter your email, continue with email, and yeah, this is Google SSO, no. So you can see a familiar interface here, no? Just like Google Drive. So let's create a folder. Let's name it Kickstart. Okay. Then let's upload. Oh, what happened? Here and there. So we can continue our presentation here, no? Yan. So ayan. So, and sa future, no, it is not just a drive, no. We are also developing and will release the AI Connect feature where you can directly create your HTML from Claude directly to markup. And also we will also develop like the second brain, the retrieval part where you can get context from markup onto your Claude, no, and other things, no. So so the next time you use your favorite AI tools, no, just try it, no. Build your context, create like some presentation and prompt generate it in HTML. Then save it in Sprout Markup or Markup. View it in any device. I usually view it in mobile. Share it with your audience, and that's it. Then upload something tonight, no? Scan the QR or go to sproutmarkup.com. It's free, it's secure, no? I-markup mo na yan. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Gino. So he's the engineering lead at Sprout AI Labs. So essentially, for non-tech like me, Gian said, we built it to fix a problem we faced as we used AI more. Sharing AI-generated HTML, DEX reports was clumsy. You download the file, send over chat, and hope it renders. So that's the solution, and you guys can try it. It's developed by Sprout Solutions. So thank you, Gino, for your time and for sharing with the community. Okay. Let's get the clicker again. There. So, to the main part of the program. Let me just quickly. Okay, so BagoSphere, for everyone who's only gotten to know Kickstart recently, is one of our earliest investments dating back to 2012. So I remember we flew in to Bacolod for the due diligence, and more than 10 years later, they're still here, stronger, bigger team, and doing fantastic work. So tonight's topic, the future of work is human. So this is where we will ask not just how fast we can adopt AI, but also what kind of organizations are we becoming as we do adopt AI. So tonight's speaker is Ellwyn Tan, the co-founder and head of business at BagoSphere. So BagoSphere, interestingly, when we invested in them, they were three Singaporean founders who graduated from NUS, but relocated themselves to the Philippines and not in Metro Manila, but a city in the Visayas. So that's how intentional and really committed they were to building a impact startup. So Ellwyn has spent over a decade of working with frontline teams across the Philippines on what really drives retention, resilience, and human capability at work. So Ellwyn is an Obama leader for Asia Pacific, a Southeast Asia Acumen Fellow, and a Filipio Innovation Fellow. And tonight's topic, he will be unpacking for us why technology amplifies your values gap, people values, why the real risk is leaders becoming less human, and why empathy, resilience, and adaptability now sit at the center of any future of work strategy. So, everyone, let's all welcome to the stage Ellwyn Tan. Hi, Ellwyn. You want to use this? Ah.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to meet you. And I'm also a little bit nervous because this is my first time speaking at Read the Fridge. So thank you for making time to come because of the weather as well. Right. So, yep. Okay. So 6 weeks ago, the Catholic Church published its first major article on artificial intelligence, right? When I read it, it surprised me because it started with two stories from thousands of years ago. So the first one is about the Tower of Babel, which is where people have settled in a land with one singular language, a singular technology, and direction, which is to reach the heavens, right, through building the tower. They were looking to be known. They wanted to make a name for themselves, and so that they are not left behind. And all this started with a real need, actually, right? In the beginning, it was really about stability. It's about being self-sufficient. And and it's also for the fear of being scattered, right? And losing what they have built. But throughout the building, right? They somewhere in the building of the Babel, the Tower of Babel itself, the need got lost. Nobody stopped and asked whether what they are doing still served the purpose of serving the people that they were built for in the beginning. And so the people it was supposed to be serving started to slowly become invisible. The goal, the common goal, the common language that they shared in the beginning started to fragment. Communications between them started to break down. The tower didn't collapse in the end. It was not torn down. It just disappeared quietly. Because the people who started off working on it together couldn't reach each other anymore. And eventually, everybody scattered. But the tower still stood silent and unfinished. So this is a story about growth for growth's sake. Right? The second story came from the book of Nehemiah, when the exiled people of Jerusalem returned after Persia has taken over. Right? The city was in ruins. The walls were broken, gates were burned, the peoples were in a distress. And this is when Nehemiah heard about this. Back then, he was, in the royal courts of Persia, safe, comfortable, and, far away from the city. But when he heard the story of the city, he felt the need to help. So he asked the king for permission to return. So he got the permission, and when he went back to Jerusalem, he didn't come with a ready-made plan and starting telling people what to do, right? What to fix. No, he started by sitting in silence, observing the people on the ground, looking at the walls, which areas are broken. And then he asked himself 3 questions. What actually needs to be fixed? Why does it matter? And who needs to be part of this rebuilding? Only then, he organized the community. He spoke to the people on the ground, the artisans, the priests, men and women, young and old, the families. He listened to their concerns, their oppositions, and addressed them as he assigned to them a section of the wall that they had to rebuild for each family. So this is this is not top down, right? It is shared responsibility. Everyone had skin in the rebuilding. This story is not about a hero coming down to the city to save, the city. It is a story about purpose and community. So these are not ancient stories, right? Every major innovation that we have seen in history, agricultural, industrial, you have the digital internet and the internet, right? Now AI. Without people choosing, we drift towards Babel, right? To get faster, to be more efficient, for profit, for status. But the Nehemiahs are still out there, right? In communities and organizations and people in this room. But the world that we live in rewards Babel, right? And in this world, the human connection that Nehemiah represents are slowly being eroded. Right. So every organization in this room, right, is already building towards something. The question is, which one is it? Right? Are we building Babel or are we rebuilding Jerusalem?
Before joining BagoSphere, life was hard. I juggled three jobs as a farm laborer, tricycle driver, and a rice mill worker. But it wasn't enough. My son needed daily medication, and my wife had no choice but to work in Singapore as a helper. Seeing my son crying when my wife left broke my heart. I knew I needed to do something, but I didn't know where to start. It was my father who introduced me to BagoSphere. I wasn't confident, but I still applied for my family. The recruiter noted my thick accent and I could only type 5 words per minute, but she saw my determination and gave me a chance. After the 2-month program, I improved from a thick accent and typing 5 words per minute to a clearer accent and 24 words per minute typing speed. This helped me get a customer service representative job in Bacolod. I felt relieved and grateful because my mother had taken a loan for my training. Eventually, I joined BagoSphere, starting as a marketing and recruitment assistant, and now working as a program officer.
Raquel's journey from a struggling trainee to a program officer who now helps others shows the power of tapping into hidden potential. It reminds us that we can all transform into better versions of ourselves.
Since my first training at BagoSphere, my life has transformed. I achieved my goals of providing for my son's medication, building our own home, and having my wife return from working abroad and work here instead. Now, as my son goes to college, we aspire to have our first ever bachelor's degree holder in the family. I'm grateful to BagoSphere and its supporters for helping people like me have better lives.
So every time I watch Markel's story, I always feel this deep sense of gratitude because it reminds me of where I come from. So my dad, he's a Malaysian. He was born into a big family of he has 14 siblings, right? When he was young, and the life was hard, right? Yam or ube, something like ube was what they had for meals at the time. So when he was young, he had to work as a laborer, right, to put food on the table and support his siblings' education. In his 20s, he was able to go to Singapore to find better opportunities. And he was lucky because an electrical company in Singapore hired him, trained him, and he was able to build a life in Singapore, right? And even today, when we go out, when we eat out, he still tears his tissue paper into half, right? Just because it's thrifty. And it's a force of habit, but it is one that always reminds me of my roots. So if no one had given him the chance in Singapore, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. I wouldn't be here standing here talking to you. So when I hear Markel's story all the time, it feels very personal to me because there's so much drive and so much potential, but he's struggling so hard to just to break through. And this is a story that I've seen in many of our students, right? And I'll share about 6 in this discussion. It also reminded me of when we first started in Bago City, right? So my co-founders and I, we lived in the city, in Bago City specifically, for 2 years when we were starting the program, right? And in 2013, batch 2, right? There was these 6 students, right, who finished the program but were not able to be placed in the call center that we work with because they failed in a recruitment stage. Part of it's an automated language assessment. So you talk to a phone, the algorithm scores you. There's no human on the other end, and you get a score and then a verdict. Right? In my opinion, I felt that they were defeated by a machine, and I couldn't let that go. So I asked them to come back to the training center. And back then in the provinces, you get a lot of brownouts, right? So during sometimes we would be going to the basketball court, we will sit down and I will coach them, right? And the most difficult time came 3 months in after the program, and the 6 were still with us. They have failed 2 more times at the same assessment. I could already sense that they wanted to give up. Even I questioned myself, but I asked them to try one more time, one last time. And I'm really thankful that they did, because in the last attempt, the 4 months in, they passed finally, right? And it was unforgettable, right? They were jumping and, fist pumps in the air. And this happened more than 10 years ago. One of them, so the guy at the end in red, his name is Dan. When he joined us in the program, he was 20, college undergrad, no work experience. Today, he is earning 50,000 pesos a month. He has a car, he has a home, and he has a family that he's providing for. So my dad, Markel, Dan. These 3 people, they have their lives changed because someone chose to see them as human beings. But I want to be honest, that's not really a strategy, right? Because right now, every organization in this room, AI is moving into the decisions that shape people's lives faster than we expect. And that here is what I keep coming back to. We are definitely digitizing much more quickly, much faster than we are humanizing. The Pope looked at this moment and reached for the story of Nehemiah, right? A man who heard the cries of a devastated people and decided to support, to help, to rebuild it brick by brick with the people, not as a passive spectator, as a builder, right? And that is the call that the Pope, puts to us, right? To enter the construction sites of history, right? And really protect what is being threatened. But before we do all this, before we can build, we have to see clearly what we are building, right? What we are building toward. I want to share with you 3 things that would determine whether you are building toward Jerusalem or Babel. Thanks. The first insight, all right, is this: technology doesn't create your values gap; it amplifies it, right? Nobody chose to build Babel. They chose efficiency, they chose faster ROI, they chose speed, right? And these choices are the ones that affect why Babel is built. So Babel essentially example because we keep choosing these 3 choices. All our organizations, every one of us, is already operating in one of these 3 modes, right? Exploitative, right? Efficiency above all. We see people as an input, right? We optimize them to increase efficiency, right? An example, a retail chain, you launch an AI tool to allocate working hours based on performance, right? And imagine a retail worker that works in this system. If he has a 1 bad month, right? He has a family emergency, his performance dips. AI will be the ones that will determine that his hours get cut short because his performance dip. His income will drop, he gets stressed, and 3 months later, he might be gone, resign. The system only tags as performance issues and voluntary resignation. This organization didn't really know what happened. It didn't know that this all started the week that the retail, the worker actually had a family crisis. So the next mode, right, is ethical. So the ethical mode is where most organizations aspire to be. You have inbuilt policies, the processes, safeguards to try and ensure that people are protected. But that is not enough. It is necessary, but it's not enough, right? The right questions are being asked, but only perhaps the minimum required questions. So going back to the same example, the retail chain. Now, instead of the AI tagging tagging bad performance and providing less allocation of hours, now a manager can actually override the decision. But how often is that decision overridden? Maybe 2%, 5%. And if that's the case, nobody asks why is it so little as well. The systems on paper looks like it's supervised technically, right? On paper, it looks that we are doing all these things, but it's still not happening. So this is where we look at as an ethical mode. And lastly, the redemptive mode. What is this mode? So it means that you're not just checking boxes. You're proactively making decisions to ensure that the technology, the AI, is protecting your people that AI would otherwise damage. So going back to the same example, how would that look like? So the time where the performance dip has been flagged by the AI, now instead of allocation, automated reduction in hours, it flags the manager to have a conversation with the worker, right? This worker will talk to the manager, come up with a plan, right? And have a resolution to that. At the end of the day, the worker stays longer. So that would be something of what redemptive mode would look like. This is the same company, same AI, but these are three different ways, different approaches that a company is using AI. Most organizations aspire to be ethical, right? But the truth is, aspiration and daily habits are two different things, right? Which mode are you actually in, versus which mode you say you are in? So most organizations, don't want to be in an exploitative mode, right? But why do so many end up there anyway? Because of three main forces, right? What we call it. These are not unique to bad organizations. They show up even in the best intentioned organizations. So pride first is the belief that AI can help you be self-sufficient. It can handle all the work so that you don't really have to develop people anymore. It can wait, right? You don't have to spend more time in mentoring, cut the coaching, cut the training budget. The machine doesn't need developing. People can wait. The next force, magic, right? Basically, it is thinking that AI is a super tool that can help you solve a fundamentally cultural problem in the organization or leadership problem, right? For example, your team may be disengaged, and the solution could be thinking about, maybe the AI tool can be used to increase engagement. You do check-in questions on a daily basis. You have you have reminders when they seem to be overworking, right? On the dashboard, it looks nice, but it doesn't create new real conversations around the team, right? So lastly, on Mammon, right? This is where efficiency, I think this is something that we are all very familiar with. Efficiency, ROI is always prioritized over human development, people development, right? An AI programming tool AI tool, that's promising 30% gains will almost always win in the budget meeting against a leadership development program or a staff development program. So so these three forces, they reinforce each other, right? And Babel just assembles itself because of that, without any active choice of saying that I want to build Babel. So here's a real example. So I'm not sure whether you're familiar with Eric Ries. He is the author of Lean Startup, right? And also more recently, Incorruptible. So he asked a Google executive who has been working in Google for 13 years, two questions, right? The first question, what is the probability of Google filing its quarterly financial reports on time? Right? What's the probability of Google filing its reports on time, right? Quarterly reports. What do you think the executive said? What's the percentage that you think that on time? Zero? No, of course, Google is 100%, right? It is a financial obligation, right? That they have to report, they have to submit the report on time, quarterly. So, no doubt about it, right? The second question he asks, what is the probability that Google will try to cover up, right? In the incident, in the event when a self-driving car accidentally kills somebody. What is the probability that Google will cover up, right, in the event that a self-driving car accidentally kills somebody? Right? 100%? 60 to 90. So the executive paused and said 5%, right? Well, Google being Google, when it started, its ethos was do no evil. And then slowly it started to be removed away from its handbooks and all. And you can see that the problem is not about intention. Google is still a good company, but it's not about the intention, right? It's about formation, right? What does it mean by that? It means that Google has spent decades, right, building these systems to ensure that financial reports are submitted on time. But none is being built around ethical values, right? So this is the pattern that he sees, right, whenever those systems around ethics aren't built. So when the chips are down, right, when revenues are threatened, there's no values to be said, right? It's always about preservation. How do I survive? How do I progress? So the values are stated, but the systems are not built. And the data confirms it. This is not just a philosophical argument. 3 separate research looking at the problem at different angles, but they arrive at the same answer. So McKinsey did this report, this research on why digital transformations fail, right? Back in 2018, 2019, and they found that 70% of them fail. And the top 5 reasons, 4 of them are human, and technology is the last one. The problems were leadership, culture, organization, and execution. Second research by Rand, right? Rand researched on why AI, on AI projects basically, and found that AI projects have 80% failure rate, 2 times more than non-AI projects. And again, the top reasons for the failure is not about technology. It's about alignment of the problem. Is it solving the right problems? Organization, right, of the projects, and also whether the organization has the capacity to absorb these AI changes, adoption. And lastly, this was very recent, just earlier this year in Davos. There was a survey done on by PwC, right, on the impact of AI tools. Only 12% of the CEOs out of 4,000 respondents said that AI has delivered cost and revenue benefits, both at the same time. 56% of them said that it delivered neither, right? The technology is not the problem, right? The formation is. And this formation problem goes deeper than most leaders realize, because it is not affecting just organizations. It is also affecting the leaders themselves. So I want to share something that stopped me when I first read this study. So this is a study done by Oxford and Stanford. If I'm not wrong, it's also earlier this year, in May, right? So the researchers were trying to figure out what happens when people talk to AI, sycophantic AI, for advice, right? So basically, sycophantic AI means that AI that agrees with you, validates you, tells you what you want to hear, as compared to neutral and challenging AI. So they ran this study, 5 studies, across 3,000 people over the course of 3 weeks. So what they find is very interesting. So if you look at the chart, 500 people have tried all three AI systems, right? And they will ask a question on which AI would they like to continue using after that. 54% of them chose the sycophantic AI, not because it was giving the best advice, but because it felt the easiest to talk to. It felt that they were more easily understood, right? And what you see at the bottom are the impact of this AI usage across time. So after just one conversation, participants, right, were already finding it more difficult to reach their closest friends and family. It felt that it's more difficult to talk to them compared to the AI. And after 3 weeks, what is very interesting is that AI now, the participants now will almost as likely talk to an AI as compared to their close friends and family. And the reason is because, uh, sorry, and this is not because they have spent less time with their family while they're talking to AI. They spend the same amount of time, but they still felt that they can talk to the AI almost as well as their family members. So AI has made the feeling of feeling understood effortless, right? And when feeling understood becomes so effortless, in contrast, the slow, the messy, the effortful work of making real, genuine human connection becomes very tedious, becomes very tiring, in contrast, right? And it's not really worth it. So think about it like what junk food does, right? It tastes amazing, it satisfies your craving immediately. But over time, real foods start to taste more bland, less tasty, right? Not because the food itself, the real food itself has gone worse, but because your baseline for the taste has shifted. So same as the sycophantic AI, because it's so effortless to feel understood by the AI, your baseline for feeling understood has also shifted quietly, right? And what this means is that the greatest risk of this AI is not really about machines become superhumans, right? It's really about how leaders are becoming less human, right? Gradually, without knowing it, right? Without people noticing it. And it is not happening to just only one place. Here are 6 dimensions that you can consider in the organization, right? Human agency, right? Is AI helping inform decisions, or is it replacing human judgment? Right. For example, a manager uses AI to decide who gets promoted, right? And he makes a recommendation, no questions asked. Over time, he will stop developing his judgment and start depending on AI to make the recommendation, right? So this is what it means by where is the agency, right? Is it informing or is it replacing? Similar for learning as well, right? Is your AI helping your team develop your people, or is it creating dependency on AI? For example, you have a new analyst coming into work, right? And he generates reports using AI. Great reports, gives the same kind of output quality, but after 12 months, he still cannot make a single argument without using AI, right? He has not grown. He has become very dependent on AI. The third point on embodiment is AI helping draw your employees, your team, toward fuller engagement or accelerating this engagement? So I think maybe some of you here are using AI tools for customer discovery, understanding customer feedback, summarizing customer feedback. So is this tool helping your product team become more in touch with your customers, or are they just depending on the summary of the customer feedback, right, to make decisions on your product, right? Is it a summary of feelings, or does your team still talk to the customers to really understand what is the emotion behind? Relationships, is it strengthening the connection or substituting? Right? Managers, we give feedback, we have those difficult conversations. AI has been great at helping us find the right words, find the right way to tell it. But if we keep doing it across time, team members will feel like they are being managed by a template and not by a human. So this is where this dimension is about. There's an example. Trust and privacy. In an example for a simple example will be, for example, in a bank, using AI tools for credit scoring. Customers apply for a loan, gets declined, but doesn't know why. There's no reason, there's no way to appeal, right? All the power is being concentrated, right, on the tool, the organization. And lastly, global equity. Who benefits and who bears the cost, right? By implementing AI, who are the people benefiting from the use of AI? Is it to just are the managers in the company, revenues are the ones benefiting? Who are the ones being replaced because of AI? We see a lot of AI training tools on a lot of the some of the labor intensive work, right? I've seen, I think, a video of in India. There's a tool so they wear a recorder. It's recording how these tailors as sewers sew the products. And at the end of the day, I don't know whether are these workers going to be replaced totally by AI robotics, or are they going to be upskilled and reskilled to do something more productive? Right? The benefits definitely go to the company, but who's bearing the cost? Right. Next. So these are 6 domains where AI, if it left unled, will erode human dignity. Right. And here is what makes this particularly urgent. So the capabilities that AI cannot replace, those that actually you need to make AI work to add value to the organization, right? These are the ones that organizations are now actively defunding, right? The World Economic Forum and Indeed did a research, right? Tested more than 2,800 skills on AI substitution capacity. Zero skills can be fully substituted by AI without any oversight. Right? So that's the finding, right? And the skills that are safest from AI are all deeply human: empathy, active listening, teaching, mentoring. The skills that make a human be present, connect, and have the capabilities of making judgment. The number one differentiator, right, of growing and declining jobs by 2030: resilience, flexibility, and agility. So these are skills that help you adapt, right? The capacity to deal with difficulties, changes, and proceed when things don't go as planned. And these skills that AI cannot replace are the ones that are always being treated as optional, right? Which brings us to the question that, should keep leaders awake at night, right? Big tech alone, right? Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Google has committed $5.3 trillion, $3 trillion, right, in AI infrastructure investment, right, from 2025 to 2030. So this is all going into the models, the processes and all. And in the US, which typically leads this trend, we are seeing a dip in corporate training expenditure. 60% reduction in formal training hours per employee, right, from 2020 to 2024, right, from 35 hours per employee per year to only 13 hours, right? The bet of this decade is on machines, right? But the human capabilities that you need to build this, to bring value to these machines, right, are being defunded. And nowhere is this more clearly visible, right, right here, right, in the Philippines. The government has allocated 740 million pesos over the next 4 years to upskill, reskill 1.89 million IT BPM workers, right, for the AI era. And that works out to be less than 100 pesos per worker per year, right? And the niche need dwarfs the span, right? 68% of the Filipino workers will need retraining by 2030, right? But only 38% of this has completed the training as compared to the global average of 50%. The skills, the gap is wider here than anywhere else in the world. The skills that the regions need, right, is very clear, right? Resilience, agility, right? This is going to grow in importance until 2030 from the research. These are human capabilities that AI cannot replace, right? What this shows us is that the Philippine training gap is huge and it's wider than the global average. The region knows what it needs to do, right? And the people who will pay the price for this gap have a name, right? And the name is Markel, right? You watched his journey earlier, right? At the beginning of this talk. His confidence, his resilience, his self-awareness didn't come fully formed. Someone had to believe in him. Someone had to invest. And these are things that cannot be assumed, cannot be automated. Someone had to believe that he was worth it. So we have spent the talk looking at how Babel assembles itself, not through bad intentions, not through not through purposefully trying to build a Babel, right? But it's because there's no proactive decision to build against it. So how do you build Jerusalem, right, with purpose, right? It starts with not creating any policies, not with any processes, right? Any move. It starts with first knowing what you really stand for. So I want to post a question for Joyce. Yeah, I want to pose a question for you to sit with. Can your organization think of a scenario where it could make significantly more profit by, betraying its mission, violating its mission, and be okay with it, be happy with it? If yes, your organization or you are not mission driven. You are mission hopeful, right? And here's the difference. Mission driven organizations, they have built the systems to protect these values when revenue is being threatened. Yeah. Well, mission hopeful ones find out that they haven't only when it's too late. And this shows up in the small decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, long before any of the big ones. For example, telling a client the truth when the easier thing is to stay silent. That's a deposit. Letting a high performer stay despite the behavior that contradicts your culture, right? That's a withdrawal of trust, right? Most organizations, they don't track this, right? Balance until it is too late when the culture is already not healthy, right? And things are not moving as you want them to be. And this is the last question for this smooth, and this is personal, right? What value would you protect, even if it cost you your company, your job, or even a relationship? What is that value that you'll protect? If that question is hard to answer, that's the first move. That's the work that you need to do on the first move. That's where you start. So in move 1, we ask you what you stand for. In move 2, we ask you what your AI is actually doing to the people who work here with you. Nehemiah surveyed the broken walls before he started the rebuilding. He didn't start with a plan. He started to work with an honest look around, talk to the people, right? So you have to do the same with AI. So I gave you 6 dimensions earlier. I won't go into them again, right? Agency, learning, embodiment, relationships, trust and privacy, global equity. So here's the move. Have one honest conversation with your team, with your leadership team, about your current AI use, using those 6 dimensions, right? As a guide. So not as a compliance review, right? Really, for each of this domain, is AI developing your people's or our people's capacity? Is it creating dependency, or is it replacing them? What habits, is our use of the AI forming within the people that, who work here? We have to see that clearly first. Then you can protect what really matters. Right. So, move two, we ask you to look honestly. The third move is really to look at who. So the Pope puts it in one line. The measure of any technology is its effect on the most vulnerable. So who in an organization is the most at risk of being reduced to a data point? Who bears the costs of AI when it gets a decision wrong, when it makes a mistake? Right. And without sharing, the gains when it gets it right. So you have to be very specific here. You have to be able to name the person, name the group or the role, right? Who would benefit last, right, from this AI use, and would be the first to pay the price when it gets it wrong. And when you have that name in your mind, right, think about the decisions your organizations makes about AI, what it automates, what it flags, what it replaces. For this person, this group, are those decisions developing their role, or is it strengthening them, making them more capable? Or is it making them more trusted? Or is it on the other side of the, on the other side? Is what you're doing eroding their capability, eroding their dignity? Or is it making them easier to be let go? So if it's a second, here's the move, right? What would you have to change about your approach on how you use AI, right? So that it strengthens these people instead of, eliminating them, eroding them, not just because to protect them, but actively strengthening them. So that's the redemptive mode that we talked about earlier, right? The same AI, but very different approach on how you use it very purposefully in this case. So the key question for the third move is really, how will you reshape the use of AI so that it strengthens their role instead of eroding it? So every organization tracks KPIs, bottom lines, margins, but they do not tell you what's happening to the human capabilities, right, that made any of it possible, especially when you're using AI. So this is the work that we have been doing, helping people see what human capability is. We built the human capability compass, right, to give a mirror to teams, to leaders, right? Not what you think your capabilities, or your people's human capabilities are, but what they actually are, which ones matter the most, and where they actually sit. Seeing is freeing, right? Because once you're able to see it, you can develop it. So we don't claim to have solved the problem, right? It's a huge problem. We claim to have started it, and we are looking for the Nehemiahs in this room, the organizations that are ready to build Jerusalem together, right? So, are we using AI to build Babel, right? Faster, larger, more impressive than ever? Or are we using it to rebuild Jerusalem, where responsibility is shared, trust is rebuilt, right? And the vulnerable are being protected. So before I go, so we are hosting the Frontline Forum on the 3rd of September this year, right? So this is an annual HR gathering that we do for workforce development, L&D practitioners, and organization leaders in the Philippines. And if you find that this conversation that we just had earlier helpful, it resonates with you, right? Feel free to scan and connect with me. So this is my contact details are there, and we'll reach out when we have more details on the event. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ellwyn. Let's all give Ellwyn a round of applause. Ellwyn, you want to take a sip of water?
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So I'm back here on stage. And thank you, Elwyn, for such a enlightening topic. One of the things that we take pride in covering in Radio Fridge is topics that typically go against the grain. So when was the last time you attended an AI session that is not like this? So as leaders, it is also important to be reminded the cost of AI, and tonight Elwyn just showed us that in the world that we're living today, while trillions of dollars are being committed to building the AI infrastructure, the people who are running behind the AI tools, the training hours have also significantly dropped. Again, just a reminder, his central thesis is that the future of work is human, and but it is important that we also bring into the table the values of empathy and active listening, flexibility, resilience in an AI economy. So thank you, Elwyn. At this point, we will shift our gears and do the Q&A. I hope you have questions coming from Elwyn's presentation. Elwyn, you want to stand over here so that the others could see? Let's swap microphones. So first of all, I wanted to ask you why we invited you as speaker because of the work that you do. So what is BagoSphere?
Oh.
Yes.
So BagoSphere, we are a workforce development partner based in Singapore. So we work with frontline organizations like retail, hospitality, microfinance, logistics. So companies that we work with are like Grab Philippines. We work with microfinance like Negros Women, ASA Philippines before. So what we do, we focus on helping frontliners build the right mindsets, capabilities, so that they can build a meaningful career within their industry.
So, a show of hands, how many of you are running startups with smaller headcounts? Okay, from corporates, large enterprises. What else? Media, government. Anyone from media? Government. Okay. So Elwyn, it's an audience. It's a mixed bag. It just means that expect different kinds of questions. So,
I'll try.
I'd like to open the floor now for questions. Anyone who wants to get started? I see two hands here. So we'll start with this side, and then is that Carl? Okay, and then Carl. So yes, let's get started with V. Okay. What I would like to do is so that more of the people in the audience will also get to know you. Just say the organization you carry and the question. Please keep it to one question so that we can share more questions to the others.
Of course. So, first of all, I would like to thank you for leading this conversation. We think it's very relevant in the landscape of the workforce that we're encountering today. So, my name is V. I'm from the Castro Consulting, and we work closely with organizations on HR, data privacy, and operational transformation. And recently, a lot of the work that we've been doing revolves around helping organizations adopt AI more responsibly. So, on the regulation side, there's only been two major legal developments in AI regulation in the Philippines. So, the proposed AI Regulation Act and the Supreme Court's governance framework on human augmented artificial intelligence. So, with that context, do you think AI governance in Southeast Asia will evolve through policy first or through enterprise led best practices first?
Wow, that's a hard
Sorry.
question. Thank you for the question. I think that it's definitely a collaboration between the different players, different stakeholders, right? I won't claim to have the answer, right? I'll answer based on my experience and my opinion, essentially. I think that uh, it has to work from both ends, because we see that in a lot of these um, organizations and policies, if there's no active decision to create how to protect, right, the dignity, the livelihoods of people, right, it will automatically drift towards efficiency, ROI, right, and that's not always in the best interest of the workforce. So I think that definitely the place where policy plays a role, but it also cannot be too restrictive as so that it stifles, any form of innovation and productivity within the private sector. So I won't say that it has to start first, but I think someone has to start that conversation. That's the most important. And how is it being started? Basically, knowing where they stand first, as I mentioned earlier, right? Is why are we doing this policy? What is it for? How is it protecting people? How is it enabling people? Really going back to the fundamentals. Yeah.
Thank you, V. Danny?
Good evening. Hello. Thank you, Elwyn, for the presentation. And I'm Dan. I do innovations consulting for LGUs and universities, specifically for their startup ecosystem development. Question is actually a bit more about the background of BagoSphere. I'm just curious why Bacolod, a group of founders from Singapore, suddenly chose Bacolod for. So I'm just curious about it.
Thank you for the question. So I can answer this one very easily. So actually we started in Bago City. So it's about 40-minute drive away from Bacolod City. It's a third-class city in Negros Occidental. Reason why we got connected was because during my university days, I led community service teams, volunteer groups to Bago City. We were working with the local government units, Bago City Administrator, to run this project. So that's where we built the trust. Um, the that's where we saw what's happening on the ground. Yeah.
You want to share what you were doing in the pilot year?
Uh,
The Bago
the volunteer?
No,
The pilot.
the pilot run, yeah.
Oh. So that was the time when I got to know Bago City. That was before I graduated. And so that's also when I saw a lot of young people on the streets that are actually in the afternoons just loitering. They are not really, so they don't have jobs, right? And they're also not studying because they have no financial ability to get college education. And then that's where it got everything started. And in 2012, we started BagoSphere. And the pilot that we did was to really look at how we can help out of school youths in the Philippines to get employment in the BPO sector, because that's where the jobs were. Yeah. So we trained 14 students, and we were to get 12 of them placed after 4 months. And that's really kickstarted, that this is something that can be done and it is impactful to the community and to the economy as well.
So to add to what Elwyn said, so when we met them in 2012 and decided to invest in BagoSphere, essentially what they did was to shorten the gap from unemployment to employment, but they've managed to, I don't know if the correct phrase is reverse engineer. So they've created a training curriculum that shortens the training of unskilled workforce, high school graduates, college dropouts, to become employed by the BPO sector. And the BPO sector in Bacolod, thank God for them, was open enough to begin to look at this labor workforce as potential talent for the BPOs. So one of my favorite anecdotes from the work that they're doing is that when some of their graduates would go to the BPO HR, some of the applicants who come from the big universities would say, "Oh, where did you graduate?" And when they say BagoSphere, and they say, "What is that?" Because they were competing against graduates um,
So local
from the local
universities,
university. So like, give me one university.
Bago City College,
Yeah.
UNOR.
Yeah, so that's
So-
that's how they got started, and over time they saw, and hence the topic on the workforce is human, because at the end of the day there will be businesses where the human capability is still very critical to one's business. So yun. So yeah, so that's just a bit of the anecdote. So essentially, if understanding the labor force in the Philippines in comes to talent, one of the experts that I would go to is BagoSphere, because they really studied that. They work closely with the IBPAP as well over the years, and also with Grab and the Ateneo Center for Education. So they've somehow found a solution for the underserved section of the labor force. So yeah, so can you share a bit what you do for Grab with the audience?
Yeah, sure. So maybe just a bit of background. So before, when we first started, it was really helping out of school youths get jobs in the sector. But as Pia has mentioned, over the years, we learned that it's not just about getting the job. It's not enough. It's really how do you stay in a job and succeed in a job. And one of the things that we do right now is also how do we help even people who are employed in frontline organizations like retailers like Grab, right? How do they continue to be resilient and stay on the job without quitting, and how do they build a career within that organization? So with Grab, it's an interesting project that we do with them. So we work with the driver partners for the Grab for Grab Philippines. So they are trying to build communities within each city of the Grab setup, and we develop their driver leader partners to be able to create a support group for their community of drivers in the different cities. So it can range from safety support, creating events for their own driver communities, helping each other out. So that's something that we did with Grab.
Yeah, so yeah, essentially, they're scaling the ability to create leaders in your organization. Yeah. So I saw a hand down there. Where was it? Carl, yes.
Hello, Elwyn. Thank you for the presentation. Carl from Ticket Nation Xperia. Uh, don't you think that we're trying to create a lot of guardrails based on AI development? So historically, a human has been to multiple revolution. So for example, the industrial revolution that would, replace some of the jobs where everything before has been doing manual labors, but upon that revolution, it's improved human life value. Don't you think allowing AI to really evolve human to adapt on these changes? So for example, on our organization, before we've been hiring full stack developers. For the whole software development life cycle, we need a UIX developer, we need a product owner, a QA, and either a backend or a front end. Right now, we only hire what we call product developer. We want full stack developer that actually knows the product, full stack developer that can actually communicate with the stakeholders. So basically, you can see AI push human capability to really evolve, to adapt on doing multiple hats. So don't you think by adding a lot of this, guardrails, maybe it would slow down this evolution instead of trying to make it freely evolve the way that I think have you heard Elon Musk been mentioning that there will be no jobs in the future so that human can focus on uh, living their life. What do you think about it? Yeah.
Thank you for your question, Carl. So what I hear from the question is, are we putting too many guardrails that might stifle innovation or stifle productivity, right? Progress of human. So first, I'm not saying that AI is bad. Number one, there are things that AI should really, take off our hands, right? Things that are very automatable, like, could be summarizing, could be doing very tedious work. I think those can be taken by AI. But what I'm proposing or pushing is, what are some of the things that cannot be replaced by AI that must stay human? For example, giving feedback. You're talking to your customers, really getting the on the ground insights. Some of these things can not be replaced by AI. You really need the empathy to be present, to see the contextual cues. AI cannot feel pain, cannot feel um, any senses. There's no one, right? It cannot really teach as well. It can make it seem like it is empathizing, but it actually doesn't really. It's just agreeing with you. So I think that's the first premise, right? It's really about identifying which are the very human interactions that cannot be replaced by AI. The problem that we are seeing is that a lot of what's happening is people are replacing these interactions, these pieces that should not be replaced by AI, and that's, I think, where what we are trying to protect. Yeah. So I agree with you that if we are going to, automate the very tedious and standard stuff, I think that is great for taking it off humans' plate. So definitely agree on that. But it's really identifying which are the most important interactions that cannot be replaced or substituted by AI. Things that are related to values, judgment, right? Those are very human things that it's very hard to replace. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for that, Elwyn. So I flashed on the screen. So this is an output of the years of work that BagoSphere has done. And we invite you to take the pre-test. It's the Human Capability for Teams tool, which will allow you to do a health check for your team. And this is now also being rolled out as a B2B solution. So this is what they've learned from the years of developing talent, starting with the BPOs, and they've been able to productize it, and you can test it yourselves. HCT, it's really a team check, in especially for your organizations, and yeah, so that's those URL. And at this point, we have room for one more question. Anyone from the audience? The one at the back, Selena. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cal. I'm a designer, and my startup has to do with designing home products. So human factors, human needs, and even environmental needs are front of mind to me in my practice. So, but also being a solo founder, I've had to adopt AI, use AI. To speed up processes and to kind of like cover things in which I don't have a domain expertise. So I've had a lot of, also as a creative, I have a lot of, guilt with using AI. So this presentation has been actually very valuable for me. I'll be definitely downloading and looking through this deck over and over again. So thank you very much for this. And hello. And I also appreciate the biblical parallel that you draw, asking for building a Babel or rebuilding Jerusalem. I really like that. And at the heart of the AI problem is a human problem, and human problems are well identified. So I guess there was a certain passage that came front of mind to me, that nothing is new under the sun. I think that's Ecclesiastes. But anyways, so I appreciate that as well. And my question has to do with, I think all of us would benefit from looking towards a North Star. So you talked about a lot about the dimensions of what we should be looking at in terms of like preserving the humanness of our implementation of AI. And I think it's a very valuable framework. So my question has to do with like, what is it that framework is working towards? So in a nutshell, my question is, uh, what do you think an ethically integrated AI business looks like in the long term? What's the long game with AI? What does that look like in 5 years? What does it look like in 10 years, 20 years?
Or in my mind, ideally, I think AI is something that, like what Carl as well as mentioned, take away the tedious, very mundane things, and it's allowing us to use AI to strengthen, right, our capabilities, help us connect even better with people, right, and create a space where growth is, we're sharing this growth together. It's not a zero-sum game where you have if you have AI or you have human, right? You replace it or you just it can be together, right? To me, it's something that is a management of how much AI is needed for different situations and how much you need to be human in different specific situations, right? It's really being how do you draw this balance when it's needed. I think that's where I feel that how we can take a very responsible human-centered approach to using AI, yeah, versus very ROI approach to it. Yeah.
You're setting up metrics. You know that metrics can be gained by organizations.
Mm.
So how would you prevent the organizations from formally complying and telling the team, okay, get green regardless of cost?
So precisely why we cannot use AI to make decisions. I think this is where human judgment comes to play. This is where the human experience is important, right? So metrics are there as a guide, not as the rule. I think where the human comes into play is when you see it doesn't make sense. That's when you come in. Yeah.
For the metrics.
Exactly. Exactly what I mentioned earlier, right? What are you willing to I want to say sacrifice, right? What value, right, is your company willing to protect, right? So example would be, recent example is Anthropic, right? What did it do? It tried to protect its values by rejecting the US. I think he was trying to get into the data and ask it to work with the US military, right? But Anthropic rejected it, right? But at what cost? So we don't know, we don't see the cost, but we can only imagine how difficult it would be for them. It might even be survival as well. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer to it. It's, I think, being clear about what is your value that you stand for. Yeah. And it's okay that you need to survive. And it's nothing, and it's just being very clear what you stand for. And the organization is also aligned with that. Yeah.
On that note, everyone, let's all give Ellwyn a round of applause. Certainly a very interesting topic and a good topic to reflect on as business leaders. At this point, well, Ellwyn has flashed here a call to action. If you want to join their frontline forum, the details are there. You can scan the QR code. Where else can they find you, Ellwyn?
They can find me here.
Okay. So, but follow their pages
LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn and also on
Yep.
Facebook. There is a thriving BagoSphere community. Maybe you know someone who would like to join the BagoSphere community for employment, for connections, really just to expand their network. And so at this point, I'd like to also flash another a survey. Help us keep improving Rate the Fridge so that we are here for the next 10 years or more. 20 years. So we are on Kickstart is on our we were launched in March 2012. So it's been 14 years. So help us reach 20 years of doing Rate the Fridge. So who knows how many beer brands we will have by in our year 20. At this point, please join the survey because we do give prizes for really you did. Wait, hang on lang kasi I need to but before yes, Ellwyn, thank you so much. Let's all give Ellwyn another round of applause as I try to open my phone to announce the winner of the survey. Wait, Yani, asan? But while I'm trying to open my phone, please know that Raid the Fridge, you can continue to raid the fridge downstairs and food. The Kickstart venue is open until 9. The winners for the last month's survey is Drix Marco Almonte and Besbin Langaz. Are they here? So you get pickup coffee and Adamama gift certificates. So maraming salamat everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. And as of 7:20, the head count is 154 guests. Thank you for coming over. And please, we have a rule at Radio Fridge. You have to make 10 new friends. Salamat.
Up to the spot, put me at the top. I can make it rain with the aftershock. Bendo suru jam with my tomo dodge. If I'm on the way, you know it's a lot. Pedal straight down to the middle, like City got a city at the movie nuts. Got the whole crowd talking about the light. Yeah. Turning to 11, think they got the message. I could keep them guessing, got him mad intention. I'll be teaching lessons, I'll be making messes. Under the cutter, I'm I'ma race it, I'ma say I never ever lost. Now you know I'm taking off, I'ma make it, I'ma take it. Tokyo drifting, Tokyo drifting, Tokyo drifting. Come to the city and we do it different. Then Tokyo drifting, Tokyo drifting, Tokyo drifting. Come to the city and see what we do. Tokyo drifting, doing it different, oh yeah. I want the red line tension. Ain't got no fear in the clothes. I'm gonna put on the show, but I set on you time. Konnichiwa. I'ma race it, I'ma say I never ever lost. Never ever lost. Now you know I'm taking up. Tokyo drifting. Tokyo drifting. Tokyo drifting. Come to the city and we do it different. Tokyo drifting. Tokyo drifting. Tokyo drifting. Tokyo drifting. Come to the city and see what we did. We gonna play. She wanna smile. All of this animation, what I got though. Send me some money and say I got though. Wait. You know we lit and we turn to the spot close. Adam. 아침 먹고 땡. 점심 먹고 땡. 저녁 먹고 땡. 삼시세끼 다 챙겨 도무기로 플레이.
시버가 동작 규칙 그땅동 깨진 분위기였으니까